A festive atmosphere enveloped the surroundings. The elderly owner of a renowned pharmaceutical company was getting ready to celebrate another birthday. This year, however, something special was happening. Her children Rodolfo and Marta were enthusiastically planning the party together. Mrs. Sandra, a woman with gray hair and eyes that still sparkled with vitality, watched the preparations and planning with a grateful smile. "Mother, the cake is perfect." "This one too," said the young woman. "I never imagined planning something like this for myself. I'm so happy," she continued, her eyes shining, tears of joy escaping. Rodolfo, tall and with an elegant posture, approached the lady with a warm smile. "Mother, you deserve all this and much more. We want this day to be truly special," he stated, putting an affectionate arm around her. Marta, meanwhile, was flipping through decoration magazines with a critical eye. "Everything must be perfect for our dear mother," she commented, pointing to a floral arrangement. "Look at these petunias, Mom. They're beautiful, aren't they?" As the house filled with laughter and joy, the lady sat at the kitchen counter, where they were, tasting the experimental cakes and sweets, and could barely contain her happiness and gratitude. However, at a moment when she stepped away to go to the bathroom, away from her mother's gaze, the siblings shared a secret. "Rodolfo," whispered his sister, "everything is going according to plan. She suspects nothing." The young woman nodded with a smile, hiding dark intentions. "Excellent, keep it up," he said. The birthday celebrant returned radiant, unaware of what her children were plotting in the shadows. She could already imagine her party with music filling the air, the aroma of delicious dishes emanating from the kitchen, the impeccable decoration, and the atmosphere of celebration she had longed for as her most special gift. The presence and love of her children, who had always been distant, spoiled, and only cared about spending her money. She thought that, as she grew older, perhaps the two had noticed and appreciated her more. Poor thing. During the celebration planning, Sandra was still tasting the cakes and sweets when she received an unexpected call. With a worried expression, she said, with sudden urgency in her voice, "I'm coming." After hanging up, she turned to her children, explaining that she needed to leave for an urgent matter related to her company. "My lawyer just called me about a problem we need to solve immediately. It seems to have been with the shipment from some carrier. I'm going there. I'll be back later to continue," she informed them, a little hurriedly, with quick goodbyes and promises to return soon. The businesswoman left the mansion, leaving the children alone with their planning. As soon as their mother closed the door, they exchanged complicit glances and celebrated the successful execution of the plan. "This will be our moment, Marta. No one will suspect what we're doing." "How did we not think of this before?" the young woman said with a malicious smile, agreeing. "Yes, no one will suspect. I've already bought the poison to put in the cake. We'll get rid of this old woman as soon as she takes a bite." They discussed the details with coldness, as if they were not children speaking. Marta had obtained a potent, undetectable poison that acted quickly. "This will look like a natural heart attack after all. She's already finished," she commented, checking a small bottle she had brought with her. The criminals felt the cleverest, imagining how easy it would be to get their hands on their mother's fortune. They just needed to make a scene, cry at the funeral, and then the two of them would be filthy rich. After that, we'll have everything we've always wanted, without having to wait for her to naturally leave, without depending on her anymore, the brother said, his eyes gleaming with greed. The woman agreed with a satisfied smile on her face. "We can do whatever we want. Finally, we'll be free to live the life we deserve. All this birthday party theater will be worth it." They continued discussing the details of the plan, convinced that no one would discover them. Then came the special day of Mrs. Sandra, and attention hung in the air, disguised under the facade of an intimate birthday celebration. The lady, for your understanding, was a very astute elderly woman. Owner of a pharmaceutical company she built herself after her husband's death, who left her with 2 young children. The children had organized the event to be something intimate, just the 3 of them, something the woman always wished for, since the 2 were almost never home, always traveling and spending. Now it was her moment to enjoy. They could barely conceal their sinister anticipation. Rodolfo was like their jack of all trades, always influenced by his older sister, but he was equally wicked as well. When the lady descended the stairs from the 2nd floor, the table was set, and everything was beautifully decorated. The cake poisoned by them was carefully placed in the center, along with elegant sweets and appetizers of caviar and black truffles. The businesswoman, with a warm smile, thanked them for the gesture of affection. "My darlings, how happy I am to be here with my wonderful children," she said, her eyes shining with an emotion that the 2 couldn't decipher. It was a wonderful day. They ate, drank, and talked as if they were truly a happy family. However, after singing "Happy Birthday," the siblings watched closely as their mother cut a generous portion of the cake. "Happy birthday, Mom!" Their voices trembled with anticipation. The mother said that this moment deserved an expensive wine, the only addition from a vineyard that had been destroyed before World War I and cost for ongoing. God bless the family toast, filling their glasses, and she herself took a generous portion of the cake and took a big bite. The lady ate the whole cake and said it was divine. Then, she savored another portion while Rodolfo and Marta watched excitedly as she devoured the poisoned cake. They held their breath, eagerly awaiting the lethal effect of the poison. The 2 toasted with the expensive wine that the mother had bought and smiled. Only they knew the true meaning of that joy. However, fate had something in store for them, or rather, it wasn't fate, it was Mrs. Sandra. To the astonishment of the children, the old woman was not ill, even after about 20 minutes of eating the cake. "I should have kicked the bucket by now," the sister whispered softly to Rodolfo's ear. At that moment, the lady said something that left the 2 speechless. "What's the matter, children? Why do you have such disappointed faces? Aren't you happy because I'm not dead yet?" She stood up and revealed that she knew about the macabre plan. "How could you dare? I switched the cake during the night for one without poison," she stated with a displeased expression. Rodolfo and Marta were petrified, their faces pale with fear. "But how, if we were so careful?" the girl could think. "You underestimated the mother you have," the businesswoman said firmly. However, what she revealed next made the 2 siblings start to cry. "Thank goodness I'm not a fool. I put poison in your wine." They dropped their glasses on the floor. "You should have killed me," exclaimed the old woman. The siblings, in a desperate act, tried to induce vomiting, but the lady interrupted them. "It's no use at all. I chose a specific poison. If you try to vomit, death will be immediate. Pity that only I have an antidote." Rodolfo and Marta immediately stopped, now overwhelmed by panic, and pleaded for mercy. "Mom, please forgive us. It was a terrible mistake. We can explain. Please, give us the antidote." They cried with tears running down their faces. Mrs. Sandra, maintaining her composure, said, "You are cretins. How could I raise 2 children with the courage to mercilessly kill their own mother? Your only chance is to record a full confession of your plans. Only after that will I consider giving you the antidote." The woman turned on her cell phone camera and instructed them to sit on the couch to start recording. They were hesitant, after all, they were digging their own graves. "You have exactly 20 minutes until the poison takes effect," she concluded with her voice resonating with undeniable authority. The children, now confronted with the reality of their actions and the imminent death, understood the gravity of the mistake they had made. They trembled and cried, confessing in front of the camera the sordid details of their plan. The room, once a scene of celebration, turned into a maternal court of justice, each taking turns to reveal the diabolical plan they had devised. Rodolfo, with a broken voice and tears in his eyes, began, "Yes, we planned to poison our mother to get the inheritance faster. I'm so sorry. His expression was that of someone watching his own life crumble. Marta, equally affected and occasionally sobbing, continued, "We were obsessed with the idea of fortune, but it was because she never let us spend as we pleased. We always had to do something in return, like work." With each confession, the siblings looked desperately at the woman, begging for mercy. "Mom, please, I'm feeling sick. Give me an antidote." The man pleaded with a trembling voice. The businesswoman, however, remained undeterred, vehemently denying them. "They need to understand the gravity of what they did," she said with a stern expression. After the recording, she picked up the phone and called her lawyer. The children there seemed like they were going to die crying, while she waited for the call to complete. When the man answered, she asked, "Eduardo, did you receive the confession I sent you? Excellent. Then I want you to immediately remove these two scoundrels from my will," she ordered angrily, in a way her children had never seen. Rodolfo and Marta, hearing the conversation, were shocked and plunged into panic. Time was running out, and death seemed imminent. Mrs. Sandra grabbed her purse and began to move towards the door, while the two shouted desperately, "Mom, are you going to let us die? Where's the antidote?" They cried with terror etched on their faces. However, as she turned to face them one last time, the lady revealed the truth. "There is no antidote. I would never put poison in my children's drink. I knew about your plan from the beginning," she said with a look of disappointment and sadness. The siblings, at that moment, stopped crying, as if they had been drowned, and were shocked, unable to believe that their mother had deceived them, using their own scheme against them. The reality of their actions and the consequences of their deeds. Now that they were out of the will, the lesson had been harsh but necessary. They had planned worse against their own mother, and now faced the consequences of their dark deeds. But how did the elderly woman discover her children's diabolical plan if they were being so careful? The answer takes us a few days back, when the siblings, in a moment of false security, detailed their deadly scheme. Remember that day when they were tasting the cakes and the lady had to leave to resolve some issue related to medicine deliveries? Well, while Rodolfo and Marta were articulating their Machiavellian steps in the kitchen, Mrs. Sandra, by chance of fate, realized she had forgotten her favorite coat on the living room couch. She came back inside, but the two, lost in their Machiavellian plans, didn't even notice, didn't hear her come in. The woman heard her children's voices talking about poison. Driven by curiosity, she approached stealthily, hiding behind the wall. What she heard left her petrified and feeling betrayed. Her own children were planning her death. "As soon as this lady eats the poisoned cake, the inheritance will be ours," Rodolfo said with a cruel smile, while Marta added details about the chosen poison, ensuring it was a heart attack. Shocked and devastated, Sandra silently retreated, with a storm of emotions stirring her heart. That night, she cried alone, lamenting the greed and wickedness of the children she had raised. However, she was a woman of action, determined to teach those two scoundrels a lesson. She also planned that early morning of the party to swap the poisoned cake for another safe one to deliver the final blow. She planned to pretend to have adulterated their drinks after they recorded the confession, giving her every right not only to exclude them from the will but also to disown them both. The lawyer prepared the documents quickly. In less than 24 hours, Rodolfo and Marta no longer had any legal ties to the businesswoman. The siblings couldn't believe that all of this had been orchestrated by their own mother. They couldn't accept that they had dug their own graves and that everything they had planned had gone wrong. Furthermore, with the confession in hand, their mother could report them, and they would be arrested. "Mom, please, forgive us." The two cried, no longer afraid of dying, but now with a tremendous fear of being imprisoned forever for attempted murder. Mrs. Sandra, with a look of disgust and hatred, didn't even seem like the same person. "You're lucky I don't turn you over to the police. You're a disgrace to me," the lady affirmed, turning away, leaving the children alone with their own shame and regrets, closing a painful chapter of her life. Her last words were something that stayed engraved in the minds of the two Cretans. "You're not my children anymore." With the determination of a woman who saw her children's true intentions, Mrs. Sandra began to restructure her life and legacy. The first thing she did, with a new perspective on what truly matters, was to decide to donate the portion of her fortune that would have been her children's to charity. She chose organizations that worked with disadvantaged children and medical research. "It's time for my wealth to make a difference in the world in a way that I know is right," she told her lawyer Eduardo during a meeting about how she would direct her money. The news of Mrs. Sandra's generosity spread quickly. She was hailed by the community for her altruistic gesture. The vision of an elderly woman who faced her own children's greed and chose to help the needy inspired many. The consequences of her actions were severe and immediate. Not only were they removed from the will, but they were also kicked out of the family mansion. That wounded mother couldn't tolerate the presence of those who had conspired against her life under her roof. "Now you have nothing to do with me. Take your things and get out of here now. Never dare set foot on the ground under my roof again," she declared without an ounce of love for them in her heart. The siblings, now stripped of their inheritance and the luxury they lived in, were shocked by the harsh and cold reality of the world. They were forced to face difficulties they never imagined. The humiliation of being known as the children who tried to kill their own mother out of greed haunted them, making each step toward a new beginning even more challenging. The elderly woman, now a symbol of strength and generosity, continued her life with dignity and purpose, finding peace, while her children, if we can call them that, never saw her again and bitterly regretted all their actions. If you enjoyed this story, leave your opinion in the comments below, and of course, leave a like and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell to not miss any videos. A big hug and see you soon.